Most of you guys made it in time. In fact, most of you guys made it before time, which is very commendable. So just one person to confirm with me, can everyone hear me? And can you hear me loud and clear? Maybe Tony, you can confirm that from me on your end. Okay, I see, okay.
Oh, sorry, I missed. What did you ask?
No, I was asking if I was audible enough.
Yes, loud and clear.
All right, okay, cool. Thanks. I guess I'm audible enough, and now we can start. So I'll start by sharing my screen. We go through the program, what we have installed today, what we should be expecting. Yes. So again, welcome to Nairobi Ui Ux Meetup. This is our 5th meetup. And if you are new here, this meetup happens every month, once every month, and it's always on the 2nd Wednesday, starting from 5:30 East African time. So at the moment, we do it online or virtually. Maybe in the future, hopefully, we might host one physically. But if you're new, welcome. Feel free. We had another one last month on Feb, another one on January, November, and all that. And we'll have another one on March. So before we go on, I'd like to take you through the agenda of today and what you should expect and the discussions and all that. So we'll start with the introduction that I'm doing now. I've already told you about the event, and then we look at job openings and events, UX events. Then we'll have a case study presentation by Gerard Mwanu, a 10-minute case study. I hope he's in, by the way. Okay, yeah. Great. So afterwards, okay, this mini is blocking my screen. The chat is blocking my screen. Okay, so afterwards we'll have a panel of discussion of 3 UX researchers, and they're going to discuss how to land your UX research job with no experience. So if you've been thinking about getting into UX, specifically into UX research, and today is your day, we have 3 experts, not even 1, 3. So take notes of that. Now, before we proceed, first, I'd like to link you guys to a Google document, and it's basically this one. This is a sign-up form where you type your name, what you do, or what you do, your workplace, and then you link your LinkedIn profile. So you type here, like for instance, then what you do, what I do, UX design, where I work, and my LinkedIn profile. So the reason why I haven't typed mine, because last time we had plenty of signups. So if you signed up last time, on our last virtual meeting, 19th, you don't need to type in again your name or your link and everything. But if you haven't, just come here and type it. And please don't edit the ones that are down here. Also, if you're new today, you can start by linking with the following people, these people here. So just click on the links and it'll take you to their LinkedIn and connect. Okay. And then now, next on the agenda, so you put your name, what you do, and where on your LinkedIn. So let me share this. Let me copy paste it on the chat. Yeah. So I've made the editor. Everyone is an editor, so there's no need to ask for any request. Good. Now we are done with that. Stay in contact. We have a Discord group. You can, here's the link also. Let me link it, by the way. If you're on Discord and you'd like to link with us, there's the link. We have our website, UI UX Nairobi. Also, it's on the chat. I've linked it. And afterwards, after this event, we will have the notes, everything that will happen here. So if you want to follow up, there's the link on the chat. Okay. All right. So the next thing is, if you'd like to help, because we actually would love volunteers, here are some ways you can help. One, you can help by organizing events. So everyone who's organizing events is a volunteer. Okay. So if you'd like, you can contribute to that. Another way you can do is graphic design. And what we really want in graphic design is like poster design for the event. If you'd like to reverb our presentation, you can do that. And then you can volunteer to do a case study presentation, like what Gerard is going to be doing today. And then the main one is giving a mini talk, the one we're going to have with the 3 UX researchers. So you can volunteer to also do that. And then moderate the UI UX Nairobi Discord server. You're also welcome to do all that. So if you're looking for if you're applying for a job and you'd like to do like a mock-up case study presentation, this is the best place where you can practice. We'll give you that chance to do that. All right. And then now we have events. So events, we have an AXCON Accessibility Conference, which is free. I believe this is also a virtual event from 15th to 17th, right, Anthony? We'll confirm with us.
Yes, I believe that it is.
Yes, it's a virtual event. There's another one, UX Vienna evening meetup, every second Tuesday of the month, 9 p.m. I also think it's virtual. I believe that. Anyone with an upcoming event, kindly type it here. Let me add it here. If you have an event, just add the link here, below here. Event. So you'll add the link here and we will highly appreciate. Great. So also job opportunities for everyone who's looking for a job, product designer from an undisclosed, well-funded early startup. Okay. In the social commerce space, raised USD 2.5 million venture capitalist funding. Send your applications to Aditi Banerjee. Okay, and here is the email for application. So anyone with a job or internship opportunity they know about, probably in your company, kindly let us know, and you can type in those jobs here on this section, the job section here. Just add it and we'll be very glad. Okay, so now that was the intro. I hope I didn't take much time. Yes, I didn't. In fact, I'm on time. That was the intro. Now we want to get into the case study presentation. This is a 10 minutes presentation. So Gerard, I hope you have your timer ready. Yes, so the floor now is yours. Mr. Gerard. Let me stop sharing.
Okay. Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome.
So this is me. Hi, guys. So my name is Gerald. As you can see from my username, my registration number is there in school, so I'm still a student at the moment. But I practice UX UI design. I've been freelancing for the past couple of, let's say a couple of months. It's been almost 12 months right now, so that makes a year. So today I'll be making a case study presentation of one of my projects, which I did last year. So let me share my screen. I hope you can see it. Okay, awesome.
Yes, Gerard.
So, yeah, okay, so
can see.
Okay, I'm a bit nervous because this is my first presentation, but please take it easy on me. So what I was designing for a client was an application called, a web-based application called Keja Plus, which was aimed at making the search for apartments and properties on sale easy for users. So on to my introduction. Keja Plus is an online hub which incorporates a wide repository of available properties for leasing or for sale. It's a web-based application which targets users that are in need of space that fits their requirements and their needs. Let's say, for example, someone needs a house in Nairobi in this particular estate. This application is supposed to cater for that based on the needs that they select. As we all know, there's a need. There's usually a very tough time when someone is looking for a place like, let's say, a property or a rental house. It usually takes a couple of months even for some people, because some houses are not, they do not adhere to like the standards which you have as a person. Let's say, for example, you are looking for a house which has 2 bathrooms, you get which has 1, and so on and so forth. So it becomes really a big problem when someone is looking for a house. And there are a number of applications which exist, and they may not be as credible as possible and not so satisfying to the user, especially when it comes to the user experience and the interface. Sometimes it gets a little bit messy and the user becomes confused on where to go, which button to select, which to filter by what and what. It becomes a little bit tough. So I gathered inspiration out of this problem majorly from Airbnb internationally, which has a very, and we can all attest to this, it has a very appealing visual nature. And also gigi.co.k, which is also associated to selling other things like electronics, cars, but also when it comes to selling property, yeah, I find it like it has a really nice interface and very easy to use. So these are the 2 applications which inspired me. And on my competitive analysis, after analyzing some of the similar platforms, such as the ones that I've mentioned above, and products in the market, it came to my realization that most will provide only pictures and an address, as well as a contact form where you can get the numbers of the various property owners who are selling or leasing the space or land, and the phone number, and no map. For example, like Gigi doesn't have a map, you only have pictures. This, however, does not guarantee authenticity of a posted ad or property and can discourage a visiting client from reaching out. So to make it much better for Keja Plus, these are some of my goals. I set out to creating a more friendly and easy to use web application that will have the experience change from being tough, time consuming and tiresome to fast, reliable and convenient. So I wanted it to be like an easy procedural, it will be like a set of procedural steps which are very easy to the user. You enter this, you enter this, you enter this, and you are there directly. You can see a map. I'll show you a screenshot of what I'm talking about. The second goal was to facilitate a better and more user-centered design, which has primarily its prime focus on delivering for the user as per their needs. whatever the user inputs is what they get as like the required output is what they get out of their input. No beating around the bush, just straightforward, easy to use. And on my third goal was to make house searching fun for each and every person who's looking for a space to reside in. If it becomes tough and boring for any user who's trying to get, let's say, a property or house to live in, definitely they won't take even more than a minute, but they'll just click out and then look for an alternative for that particular site. So Keja Plus is was aimed at, and still is aimed at making it fun for anyone who's looking for a house to get it with ease and with a smile on their face. On my design process, some time back, I was looking for, I was researching on design processes, and this particular one captured my interest, and up to date, I still use it even on my other projects, where we have the designer empathizes, where they conduct research to develop an understanding of the users. There's a definition stage which combines all the research. Here we have all the surveys, all the interviews, to gather the problems which exist from the target profile. There's an ideation stage where you generate a range of crazy and creative ideas. Here's where the wireframes come in, from the low fidelity to the high fidelity to the sketches. Then now we have the prototyping stage, where we build a real and tactile representation for a range of the ideas which have been implemented out of the ideation stage. Then we have a testing stage, where now we deliver the product, let's say the MVP, to the target audience or the profile, and they can test out, and then you can realize some of the problems which you missed out on. And then we have an implementation stage, where we put the vision into direct effect. So here, I think I've summarized all these stages about the empathizing, defining where I gathered my research. This is where I also implement a user journey map, the user flows. I also have an ideation stage where I'd implement a flow chart, and let's say I'd realize some of the problems I have to focus on, and I begin the generation of ideas for the application. And then have a user testing and a prototyping stage, where with all the architecture of the information, I can now begin the prototyping of the application. As you can see here, some of the wireframes that I developed. And then we have the visuals and the final mockup. This is what the application currently looks like. We have filtering by monthly rent. As you can see, it's not so visible, but this is what it looks like. And at the moment, it's still under development. Yeah, so a summary is this application is at the moment is a work in progress web-based application, and for our clients. And the time scope for this project was 3 months, but due to a couple of constraints, the client and the development team decided to hold off on pursuing this idea. But it's still under development. So yeah, this was my first case study presentation. I hope I get some good feedback from guys. I know it's a bit far from perfect, but I'd love your feedback. So thank you. Back to you, Michael.
Thank you, Gerard. You said back to me, Michael. I felt like I'm in CNN, so I had a bit of delay.
I get you.
So that was a lovely case study. Because of time, I will only take one feedback review, just one, because of time. So if anyone has one feedback, they can just raise their hand, and then we'll take it from there. So Mumbe has raised their hand. Kindly, Mumbe, unmute yourself and give us your feedback.
Okay, cool. That was amazing, actually. I think it's a great visually interesting aspect that you have. But I have one question, yeah? Considering I am someone who has recently moved, I've had a really bad time using the applications that are currently there in the market. And of course, part of the process of doing design work is the empathy aspect of it. something that it's regardless of your client pulling back on the project, I think it's something that you can still continue with and probably eventually sell it. I mean, like, why not make money out of it? But it would be really great if you really went and talked to people who've been using the apps and use that feedback to curate a better app that's really going to stand out, in the sense that it's going to be human-centered, customer-centered, to actually understand what, for example, what the agents are doing that is working and it's not working on the applications that are already there. So yeah, mine is just to tell you to do more user research on the same and make money out of it. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mumbe.
Thank you, Mumbe. I totally agree with you. The user research. In fact, someone said in UX design, it's not what you made, it's mostly how you made it and the process you did. And since you're designing for human beings, it's best if you involve humans. So you do the research. But anyway, if you have more feedback or any review you'd like to give Gerard, kindly, he has linked his LinkedIn, reach out to him and give him direct feedback. Because of time, we're going to go straight now to our next session, which is the discussion of the UX research. In fact, this is a great topic for you, Gerard, and the fact that Mumbe has just mentioned it, because we're going to talk about the research part. How do we do it? And if you're a beginner, where do you start? All right. So for that, I'm going to invite Anthony and Vivian.
Right.
Back to you, studio.
Thank you, Michael. I added the pause as well. Thanks, guys, for coming to the meetup. And thank you, Michael, for the awesome presentation. It's time for us to get to the next section, where we're going to be talking about how, if you're a beginner, how do you get into a UX research position? Now, we could come and give like a presentation of how to do it and like 10-step plan. But I think a better way of going about it is thinking about how did people actually get there? How did people, like actual human beings who were in careers, different places that were not UX research, how did they get into that position? And how are they doing and what do they do differently? So that's basically the idea here, is to give you actual real life experience from real life people who are in those positions. I'm joined by Vivian. So Vivian, please introduce yourself and I guess kick us off with probably, actually before we kick off, I think one of the things I'm forgetting is introducing our guests, probably to just allow them to probably wave. If I would encourage, because we're recording this, to be nice if you had your video open, like on, so that we can be able to see you and anyone else who is watching this later can. So Vivian, probably say hi, then we can start off with the introductions of the guest.
Yeah, hi everyone, my name is Vivian. I'm a UX designer currently at Appian, which is a firm based in DC. I'm excited to be here and excited to learn from everyone. And I guess we can kick off just the introductions with the guest speakers, and they can just tell us their name, their role in their company, and also how long they've been in the UX industry.
Hi, my name is Mumbe Mutuku. I'm a user researcher at Kwara, which is a neo-banking platform for SACCOs, or what you call credit unions. I've been here, I think, officially clocking 3 years. Yeah.
I can go next. Hi, everyone. My name is Njoroge. I'm a user experience designer with Africa Stocking, and primarily I work with multidisciplinary teams to sharpen our online and offline experiences to just keep developers and also people who use our platform internally delighted. And for those who don't know Africa Stocking, Africa's Talking is a pan-African communication company that enables businesses and developers to engage better with their end users. And we do this by providing APIs for USSD, bulk SMS, voice, airtime. Happy to talk about Africa's Talking later on. Feel free to reach out if you'd be interested in these products. And I've been in this domain for about 3 years now. Thank you. Back to you, Anthony.
Oh, all right. Before Anthony speaks, my name is Alice Muasa, currently working at Safaricom as a user experience research. Basically, I handle M-Pesa products, just interacting with our M-Pesa products, our M-Pesa customers, and how they view our products, how they interact with our products, just getting to know where we have a lot of pain points on our M-Pesa products. So just getting to hear them out, their feedback, their recommendation, and of course, coming back and just conveying that to the teams that we work with. For this role, I've been in this role for the since Corona, that is like 2 years ago. Yeah, so happy to be here, of course, to share my experience and learn from everyone else in the call. Thank you.
Awesome. Probably before leaving you, Alice, when being asked Anthony go next, I was actually going to ask you to introduce yourself. But going to you, would probably starting with you. I think the first question I'll ask is, how did you transition into UX? Just briefly, where did you come from, and how did you transition into UX research? A brief history of that story.
All right. I think I started off as a customer executive at the call center. Of course, now just responding to customers' issues through them calling our customer care. I then went to retail shops. That is now where you interact with customers physically. So it's more or less the same thing, but in this case, there's that now physical interaction with the customers when they come to our retail centers. I later moved to M-Pesa department, basically supporting key partners. Key partners are like the likes of the large organizations like the KPLC and HIFs, the banks. So for me, I think my journey has been a lot on interacting with customers, and not to basically understand the products, but from a support perspective. So transitioning to user research, for me, I can't even remember how I learned about that role. I actually didn't know there's such a role like a user experience researcher, because if you look at most people who started the UX journey, most of them do end-to-end. UX research was not a fully fledged career. And the last 4 years, I think that's when it's really become a whole career on its own. So I think for me, we had a team at Safaricom that actually does research, and I got interested by the fact that just being there, resolving customers' problem and wondering when these products were being designed, why weren't customers contacted? Why were the people who assist customers, like the call center people, why didn't we get their views before designing these products? So for me, I gained that interest and just started sitting with these people and getting to learn the craft. And of course, now I'll talk about the rest on how now, what I did to transition to user experience researcher.
Yeah. Anne, do you want to go next?
Yeah, that's a beautiful story, Alice.
Yes.
Mine is an interesting one. I have a background in teaching and business consultancy. So I've taught high school kids for a while, and I've done business consultancy in the slum areas in Nairobi. And now I joined tech 3 years back. and my first role was in business operations. And luckily by then, it was still Africa Stocking, but then we did have an innovation lab. And in my business operations role, I majorly worked with founders to fine-tune the ideas and, doing a lot of market research and the customer journeys, mapping that out. By then, I didn't know that is part of UX. So essentially, I started out doing UX. It's just that I was not aware of it as of then because of my background. Then at some point, I thought I really need to master this. And I really wanted to get skilled in tech, but then I didn't know where to start. But then I was at Strathmore. I was doing my master's at Strathmore in communication information systems. And when I went to that place, I did the first semester and the second semester. The course was too broad. We were learning everything and nothing at the same time. So I decided I'm going to drop out. Reason being, I was learning a lot more at work. And then after 6 months or so, a new opening happened in organization. So I moved into business development for one of our products, that's airtime and data. And then I worked there for like 1.5 years. And I was doing that to just get my head acquainted with how products are built, because I didn't have a background in that. I didn't know, okay, where do we begin? Is it front end? I did not have an understanding of that. So being in the business development role really helped me get a good understanding and grasp of how integrations are made, how different softwares are made. And then after some time, I requested for a transfer internally. And there was a position, one of our UXs transitioned to a big organization, and she recommended me for her role. But then I was not up to par and I had to begin somewhere. So user research was a great place to begin. And gradually I've, made progress. I'm glad with where I'm at. And here we are. Yeah.
And here we are indeed.
Yes.
Indeed. Mumbe, do you want to go next? I have sort of like a few comments around it, but I'd want to first, let's hear the stories. So Mumbe, go ahead.
Okay, cool. It's so interesting how no one actually went to school to study this. Mine is was actually baptism by fire. I had just left campus. I had gotten my degree in double mathematics and geology. I know. Then a month later, I realized I wasn't getting any jobs. I think I was really trying to get into the career industry really fast, but someone told me that there's a role that they don't understand that's in Andela that is called UI UX design. Why don't you try it out? And then I was like, let me try and figure out what it's all about. I realized it's for my perspective, it was more into art, designing, and I loved art. And I used to do fashion design before, so I was like, yeah, I think this is an easy way of getting money. Funny enough, a month into studying design, I was able to get a job after like lying several times how I could do something. So I remember the first week I was told to do a redesign. That was at Twende. It's a mobility company. I was told to do a redesign, and I think my confidence just won the whole guys. So yeah, I think, yeah, mine was a bit tough, but I made it. And here I am. Yeah.
Awesome. Vivian?
Yeah, your stories are so inspiring. And also most of you have touched about how you just transitioned from different departments. So I guess how long did it take you to actually land the like UX role specifically? And then also I'll just like bump in another question of like, how do you deal, Mumbe, you've tried to kind of mention this, but also how do you deal with the imposter syndrome while job searching and also while transitioning, also because technically you didn't go to school for this. So yeah, so how long did it take you to get the current role and to get into the UX role specifically? And then how did you deal with just like imposter syndrome and like finding confidence while you transition and being patient with yourself? We can start with, let's start with Anne because Alice.
Imposter syndrome was a big one for me. It was a big one. And I think you gain confidence by doing things. Confidence is earned. Confidence is earned. So you have to get your hands dirty. That's one thing I know. You have to be out there, get as many projects as you can, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to look like a fool. Because one of the main hindrances or challenges that I discovered was you really have to work around your ego as a person, because you're coming from, say, one domain. For example, I'm used to being the authority as a teacher or business consultant, and here I am, baby UXer. You really have to tame your ego, and like you have to so that you can be able to learn and do it fast, so that you can be able to learn from the engineers and the people who are ahead of you, even if they are young. Like, get accustomed to the fact that you're going to learn from people who are younger than you. I mean, Gerald right here will be my mentor, can be my mentor, even if he's still at school. Like, you just have to swallow your ego and you're like, you know what, this is the path that I've chosen and I'm going to die with it. So be it as it may. So doing a lot of projects. And I think what worked for me was, at that point, when I got into Africa Stocking, there were a lot of projects running in the lab. So we had like a savings company, we had a cloud company, we had so many companies in incubation. So that really gave me a good point of exposure and experience as well. So I was able to, master whatever it is that I needed, different principles in design, psychology of design, because to a given degree, I feel like depending on the company that you work in, when you work for a small startup, your role is a bit broad. So I think just swallow your ego, and then one, swallow your ego. Two, do not be afraid to make mistakes. Just step out there and talk to people who are ahead of you, even if they're young, as long as they've made significant strides in the industry. Kindly reach out, and also ensure that you join a community and regularly get feedback on the kind of work that you're putting out there.
Yeah, no, thank you. Especially the joining a community is so important. Alice, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. I like what Anne has said regarding the imposter syndrome, because I experienced that a bit. But for me, like what I say, when you're transitioning or when you're doing anything, I normally refer to, there's a golden circle principle that talks about your why, your how, and when. So getting into UX, like I knew what my why was. Why was I getting into this field? Like, your why has to be strong enough to take you through even the hardest times in your career, because of course it's not gonna be like an easy journey. You'll have ups and downs, but your why should be strong enough to take you through that. So for me, getting into UX, it's something that I really like. I'm passionate about research and just getting to talk to customers. I like to solve problems. I like to talk to people, And again, for me, I had what I would call transferable skills. I mean, coming from like a role, like roles that involved me interacting with customers directly. I think I had that, like, an easy way to connect with customers. And for me, it was not so hard. So I think for this question, what I would say strongly is know your why, and your why should be strong enough. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Mumbe?
Okay, so for me, how I handled the imposter syndrome was, I think I'm somehow a risk taker, and at that time I think I didn't have anything to lose, so I was like, what's the worst thing that can happen? And luckily, I had, as much as my boss knew that most of the things that I wrote I could do, I couldn't do, but I knew I had to learn. And one of it, I mean, like what Anne has said, you will learn from people who are much younger than you, and you have to swallow your ego and be open to learning. Even at this point, I'm also learning from someone who's younger than me, but his experience in the field is amazing. So I have taken that opportunity to actually be like, okay, as much as there's the edge difference, I need to be able to take something home at the end of the day. When it came to the transition, for me, it was a bit hard. I believe probably for Alice, it was really easy for you to talk to people. I found it so hard to talk to people, and there are days that people will not be willing to talk to you. I mean, for example, today I've just had a call with a circle, because we deal with circles, and one of the guys was like, you guys are not giving me what I need. But from his perspective, he doesn't understand what a user researcher is supposed to be doing. So he thought I'm also part of the development team or the customer success team. So he was giving me all the frustrations that he should have probably given them. So I had to take time and understand where he's coming from. That's why empathy comes in. You need to give them time to actually voice their issues and so on. So yeah, when it came to transition, it was really hard. But right now, I can strongly say that I have learned the hard way, but I've actually come to realize why empathy is so important in this industry. Yeah.
No, thank you
I think
so much.
Yeah, I think what the discussion that we're having so far is sort of like enlightening in the sense that even though you did not know like exactly what it is that you are doing, what steps you are taking, you are confident enough to take the leap of faith and take what it is you had and like sort of like fake it till you become it. And you became it as a result. And I guess there's something to say about that. Probably like a side question here, and again, can be answered by one or all. What's the role of confidence in getting well, apart from the hard skills, the soft skills specifically of confidence and being able to put yourself out there? What role did that play? And I think it's been spoken to a degree by Mumbe. Probably you can start off with that. And in your advising people, would you advise that they lean heavily on that?
Yes and no somehow. Yes, because that's what is going to get the door open for you. I mean, for UX design specifically, you can't necessarily say you have a certificate in this, you have actually gone to school, unless you've been able to pay for the likes of Interaction Design Foundation and so on. No, because if your confidence doesn't come hand in hand with actually being able to deliver, that's also another whole thing. Because now that's where the fake it till you make it fails here, because you can't be able to fake deliverables. You'll have to actually be able to, if at all it's user interface, you need to be able to come up with everything that needs to build the user experience part of it. If at all you want to be able to do user research, you need to be able to actually run the user research, the whole process. So I don't know. I hope I've answered the question.
I don't think there's any right or wrong way to answer it. Thanks. That's clear. Anyone else wants to contribute? You don't have to.
Yeah, I think I have something to say because it does tie to what Andrew Mukari has asked. The Dunning-Kruger effect, where you find people who are not knowledgeable about something usually overestimate their capabilities in that given domain. I'd say, first and foremost, I think one thing, a quote that I really refer to a lot is, if you don't have confidence, you've lost the battle in life. not just professionally, but in life. So there's no two way around confidence. And then the other one is do not tiptoe in life, and ensure you leave your footprints wherever you go in one way or another. So those two usually work for me in the sense that I know if I don't believe in myself, no one else will. One, for the Dunning-Kruger effect, self-awareness came in very handy for me. I realized that with user research and user experience design in general, you need to understand the kind of people that you're dealing with. So understand the different personalities, the melancholic, the phlegmatic, the choleric. So as a person, what am I? Am I a sanguine? Am I a choleric? Okay. What are the strengths and weaknesses of my personality type? So with self-awareness, you're able to manage some of these biases, like the Dunning-Kruger effect. You're able to, just do an honest analysis of, okay, and we know you're confident. We know you can speak before people, but to be honest, you need to sit down, focus, master this thing. At the same time, you also have to block and close your ears to what people have to say. Because, we all know whether you do it right or you do it wrong. Someone will always think, oh, not good enough. Too perfect. Oh my God, I love what they did. So for me, it's believe in yourself. Confidence is key. Believe in yourself. Put yourself out there. Self-awareness is very important, especially when you're starting out. Like, know your weaknesses. Get down and do the work. You'll get there.
Yeah, that's really true. And I think it's a balance because it's very easy for you to be too confident, and you do get your foot in the door and then the next foot out of it because you didn't really have any tangible thing that you could would basically keep you there. So probably to
add something, add into that. I think no one enjoys doing mediocre work, to be honest. No one enjoys doing that. And like, we all want to put great work out there. You don't want to, for lack of a better term, bullshit through your work. That's not a sustainable strategy for a career. So it's confidence to get yourself in, to express yourself, and then get down and do the work. Build yourself.
Yeah, Anthony, probably I could just add on to what Mumbe and Anne have said about confidence. I think for me, confidence is key because, like, if you don't believe in your abilities, like, how do you expect other people to believe in you, And so for me, even in real life, when someone is presenting something, as long as they are confident, whether they are lying or not, you tend to believe them, And again, in most cases, you believe you're the subject expert matter. Is it subject matter expert, So go there, tell your story, be confident in what you're saying. People will believe you, whether you're telling the truth or not. So, that's just how life is, So just believing in yourself, believing in your abilities.
Yeah. So I think somewhere close to, okay, Vivian, go, sorry.
No, it's okay. I don't know. I'm really enjoying these conversations, and also just it ties into some of the UX meetings we've had, such as like understanding PM perspectives and devs, because like you have to understand who you're working with, but then also like how you said about self-awareness. So I'm enjoying this. But then to tie into like even just building on the confidence, like what are some of the other skills that you found useful as you transition, and also tools or even habits? For example, when I was job searching, I had a spreadsheet that just had all the links. So this is an example of like a habit I had. So for yourselves, what do you think, what other skills apart from confidence, what other habits and what other tools did you find useful for for transitioning and then also getting your foot into the door and also doing the work once you're inside the door? We can start with Mumbe.
Okay. I think for me, the biggest I don't know what to call it exactly, but I'm always learning. I'm always learning. I'm always wanting to know why some of the things, like for example, in the current company, why certain things are supposed to be working a certain way and so on. Because I've had situations where I've given feedback from the customers or the people who are trying to solve the issue for, and I'm told by the devs, no, that doesn't work. I remember the first time I was told that, it hurt me so much. And this is just because I didn't also understand why they were saying certain things can't work, but this is what the customers also need. So one of the key things is always be learning. Also, because you're in the tech industry, things change very fast. So if you don't keep up with the trends, if you not necessarily trends, because some things will be trending, but it won't be applicable, but you need to keep up with the changes that are happening in the industry. I would give you like one of the most common things that have happened recently, cryptocurrency. And I mean, that is something that is being brought into our company. And at some point, I had not thought of something like that would be happening. But because of my interest in crypto, now I think I can be able to solve some of the issues that people are facing through that method. So one, you need to always be learning, always be curious about things in life, because I mean, that is what builds a great UX researcher. Yeah.
Alice, would you want to go next?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Mumbe.
Yeah, I think for me mostly is empathy. Like you have to be genuinely empathetic with your customers. I've come to notice that before I got into this field, sometimes we tend to think we know what our customers want, you know. You've interacted with your products. For instance, like I have interacted with, let me say like an M-Pesa product, like even a P2P, like I'm paying to an individual, you know, and I don't seem to like have a problem with the journey. But when you talk to the customer, there are things that they'll tell you and you'll think, is that really a problem, you know? So I think for user experience, you have to put yourself in the customer's shoe. You have to be like genuinely passionate. You have to be genuinely empathetic with the customer, because you're creating products for the customer and not for yourself. So the way you look at it and the customer looks at it, it's different. Something else is about collaborating. In this field, you work with a lot of stakeholders. So you go out there, do your research. But again, when you come in to think about the solutions, you can't craft the solutions by yourself, you know. So you have to like really know who your key stakeholders are, other than the people within the team that is probably gonna design the product or build the product. We have like I mentioned earlier on, we have products that have gone out there, and at the call center, I never like saw anyone coming to get my feedback on how some things work or how we can make them better. So aside from just customers, we have internal stakeholders as well. And again, problem solving is critical. When you're a user researcher, you should be like a problem solver, you know. So in as much as you're coming with all these user pain areas, areas of friction, we should also be able to be part of the team that I think our first presenter, I can't remember his, Gerald talked about ideation. So at the point of ideation, you are key, you'll be very key in that process because you are the person who is interacting directly with the customers. And good thing is that when you interact with the customers, some of these recommendations, some of these solutions actually come from the customers. So for me, it's about collaboration, problem solving, and generally being genuinely empathetic. Yeah.
Thank you. Anne?
Yeah, I totally agree with Alice. Empathy is key. And for me, having worked as a teacher, you realize that empathy is a part of you. Like you have to understand where are your students. Things like being able to craft appropriate interview, like knowing what questions to ask as you interacting with a given client. For me, that was easy just because I have a background in curating all manner questions. I think facilitation of different workshops, that came in quite easily as well. It's just that now I had to learn, how do I do this online and not physically? I think the other thing that has kept me going was the fact that I've always wanted to build solutions that are inclusive, in the sense that when I came into tech, I found the barrier a bit high. Like normal, like average people don't understand some of these terminologies that are so easy for most techies. So just having a background in understanding different people's groups, empathy, ability to, oversight into what the user is thinking and being able to sit in their shoes. I think that has worked well for me. And also I enjoy reading. So user research is just, the place to be, and design as well.
Thank you so much. I'll pass this now to Anthony to ask the next question.
And as a sidebar, what are you reading currently? You're muted.
And you're mute. Yeah.
Professionally or personally?
Either way.
Both.
All right. So for personal development, I'm reading Ego is the Enemy, and also The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. Professionally, I think books that I'm always going through are 100 Things Every Designers Need to Know About. And then there's also 125 Laws of UX. Those are the two things that I'm currently reading at a professional level, in addition to this additional side things that you're always doing.
Yeah, I think learning is one of those things that if you stop, you might continue succeeding for a while, but it tapers off and starts going down. So it's one of those things that I think it's really essential, especially for UX, because there are no courses that teach you like exactly what UX is, and there is no standard way of doing UX. Well, there are some foundations, but things keep on changing, and so like keeping yourself updated, I think it's really key. So probably transitioning a bit to like changing gears a bit. What is your like current UX process? Michael asked this. And like, how do you start? For just basically, do you have like a way you go about things? Probably set it up with the scenario, and then probably how do you organize your? Basically, what's your process? This can actually go different ways. Anyone wants to jump in?
Yeah, maybe I can start. And I like what Gerard presented, the empathy, define, design, test. No, sorry, prototype and test. So actually that's like the whole process. However, it's not a linear process, because you can be asked, like when you come to empathy just researching about the product, talking to the customer. You can talk to the customers at any one point, It doesn't have to be at the design phase or at the ideate stage, any part of that journey. Rather, it's not linear. So depending on where you are, but ideally the ideal journey maybe for a new product, if I could talk about that. So usually the first step is empathize. So what do you do when you're empathizing? Empathizing generally is just talking to the customer, just going out there and research. So the first step for me would be research. And what do you do before you go out there to meet the customers? Of course, now there are those preparations that you make before doing a research. For instance, what is the background of whatever it is you're going to research about? What are your goals? What questions are you going to ask that relate to whatever goal you're trying to achieve? You need to script the actual questions that you're going to ask your participants. Again, what kind of data are you trying to collect? So we have the research methods. So is it qualitative? Is it quantitative? So depending on the kind of data you want to collect, then you decide your research methods. Again, at the point of where your probably design is at. So if it's at the point where now you already have a prototype and you want to go out there and test with the customer, there's what we call like key performance indicator. So what are the KPIs you're going to be looking at? So generally, there's that bit of researching first, doing your preparation before going to do the research. Now, once you go out there, talk to the customers, you come back and present your findings. So you just come and analyze your findings before you present them to your key stakeholders, So like someone mentioned about empathy maps, about journey maps, about persona mapping, So when you go out there, of course, you'll know who your personas are. You'll be able to know what the key issues that came out, what were the main pain areas, what were the points of friction, what were the recommendations that came from the customers. Once you have that, then you can sit with your stakeholders. And like I said, it doesn't have to be like people necessarily within your team. You can bring together like a whole lot of stakeholders to help you come up with ideas. So at this point now, no idea is wrong. It's just all the ideas you have in mind. No, there's usually no right or wrong idea. So you just bring all your ideas together. There are so many ways of ideating. For us, mainly we use brainstorming, but you can read about many other ways of ideating. So you brainstorm with your team. Then after that, now you can be able probably now to come up with, maybe now you can narrow down to the ideas that viable, maybe easy feasibility, like even technically easy for you to achieve as a team, and also desirable, like are you resolving a customer issue, not just ideas for the sake of, So once you have the ideas, then now you move to the point of now designing. You design whatever ideas you've suggested. Once you design, you go back, and now at that point you have like a prototype. You go back to the customers and do what we call a usability study. Now, just analyzing how easy it is for your customer, how easy or hard it is for your customers to interact with the solution. Then come back and implement the feedback from the customers. Now before like the full launch. But again, even once you launch, it doesn't end there. Of course, you'll go back to your customers and continue to get your feedback. Now, I think I forgot to mention, there are 3 types of researches again. So are you researching at the foundational stage where it's a totally new product and you're looking to answer the question of what your customers need, or during the design phase? I think design phase is called design research. I'm not quite sure about that, where now you're testing a prototype, or the post-launch research. Now you've already launched your product, you're going back to get feedback from your customer on whether whatever you built was able to resolve their pain areas, So there's that what Gerard has presented basically, but again, it's not a linear process. You can research, you can ideate, you can prototype at any stage. So basically just know the basics of research and just that cycle basically.
Anyone else who would like to add something? I would like to hear.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
No. I think that's pretty clear.
Yeah, I would like to hear from Mumbe and how they do it. So, yeah, go on.
That was pretty comprehensive. Thank you, Alice.
Yeah, I agree with what Alice has said. It's not cast on stone. The process is not cast on stone. It depends with the stage that you're in the product development cycle. Is it a new product, or are you fine-tuning an existing product? So the strategies that you will employ will vary depending on the nature of the product that you are working on, product or service, and the goal. Because at times it might not just you are looking for adoption. Maybe you're looking to retain more customers, or you're looking to automate your processes. You're looking to automate your onboarding processes. Say it's been a bit manual for a while, so you want to automate that. So it depends with the product phase that you're at, and also the nature of product that you're working on is what I'd say. But assuming it's a new product, for me, it's essentially what Alice has said. Empathize, ideate, prototype, and test. So in the empathy stage, a lot of research. Personas, understand your users, then come up with possible ideas that you can implement around the current problem that you've identified and you want to solve. You prototype, get feedback. That is during the testing phase, and then go back to ideating, like fine-tuning the idea that you've developed, because definitely you're not going to launch after the first test. You have to do a few beta, alpha testing, then afterwards you can go to market.
Yeah, I do definitely agree with what Alice and Anne have said, which is not all researchers will take the ideal book plan that is supposed to be taken. I think that's one of the things that actually shocked me when I was officially a user researcher. I thought everything was supposed to go, empathize, define, ideate, and so on. Also, when you're getting into the market, for those who are new, you should also be open to what the company practices are supposed to be. Sometimes they'll tend to give you what they want it to look like. For example, there are situations where you need to get feedback impromptu. You're told you want to know if these people are supposed to do this a certain thing, and the feedback is needed by tomorrow. So in such cases, you don't necessarily have to do the whole process of doing a research plan and so on, but of course you'll need to be able to document. And the other thing that is very vital in user research is how you do your documentation, because that's the way, I believe it's the only way that the other collaborators or the stakeholders will keep track of your items. So what Alice had stated earlier, the user research plan will always change as long as you're doing a new research. It's always going to be changing to fit to that particular research that you're doing. So when it comes to the new product, that's when you're let me just pick the terminologies that I use. You're going to be doing a generative research. This is when you have to get details of a product that is not probably in the product line, or let's say the company doesn't really know about it. When it comes to let's say the designer has already done the sketches or done the prototypes, you can go and do a usability test just to confirm that what you're designing is what covers what the customer actually needs, so that you don't end up putting something into production yet it actually doesn't serve the customer needs. So those, like, there are different areas that will need the research, so it doesn't necessarily have to be, it follows the process that had earlier on stated by Gerald. So at the end of the day, you'll end up doing different types of researches for different types, that covers different types of purposes. Yeah, and one of the, just to note, one of the people that I actually follow that does amazing user research videos on YouTube is Kevin Liang. He's super amazing. I think it's one of the guys that has taught me most of the things that I know about user research, because considering, yes, UI UX is still a fresh thing in the market, user research is much, much fresher. So there's not a lot of content that is out there that guys can actually use. So yeah, I can just type in the name in case anyone is interested.
Useful. I think one of the main goals of the meetup, this particular meetup, is for us to be able to grow and improve ourselves. And some of these tidbits that sometimes take a tangent, sometimes become even the main thing that people got value from. So please share the link. I'm sure people are going to find that useful, especially people starting off. Vivian?
Yeah. So my next question is like, what is something you found surprising or something you didn't expect once you already landed the role? And also probably we can keep this a bit short. So like one line or two liners of what is something that you found particularly surprising once you had already landed the UX role that you didn't expect. Anyone can start, whoever's ready.
Okay, I can go first. I think for me is getting participants. I think when I got there, I don't know what my thinking was. I was like, I thought probably you just, I don't know, talk to who, tell them you're interested in doing this kind of research, then they get for you participants, you know. And if probably you need to incentivize the participants, there are always funds to do that. Well, for me, it was a shocker. Like, you just find your way, find how you're going to get participants, you know, and just get the work done. So, yeah.
I definitely agree with Alice. Getting participants is, but I mean, like, I don't even know what word to use. And specifically in Kenya, the market doesn't know about user research. So in most cases, you tend to find walls every single time that you're trying to get people to just answer your questions. And I don't know if it's just me. One of my worst experiences is just using Google Docs to get information from. So nowadays I just make calls. I'd rather spend all the airtime there than just doing Google Forms because no one actually responds. Yeah.
That's an interesting find, Mumbe, for your given specific case. On my end, I think it's just there's a lot of work. Like there are many moving parts for any UX researcher. I think for me, just the whole broad, like we have so many things to look at. That for me was a shocker, but I've come to love it because once you get to learn, say, principles of design, like basic principles of visual design, you learn how to present your work, things around human psychology and behavior, things around your personas. Like there's so many moving parts and it gets easier with time.
Thank you, Anthony.
All right. So one of the things, part of why we would want to like keep some of those questions brief is because there are a lot of people in this meetup who are starting out. They are either students, but even more likely that they are working a job like you are. They probably don't have the same advantages that some of probably like Alice had in being able to working with customers for a while. And they're wondering, where do I start? Like, I have no experience. I probably have transferable skills, but I don't know that I do. So where do I start? So what would be your advice for people who are seeking to transition to a UX role with no past experience, specifically with their CV does not read UX anything?
Okay, well, looks like I'm the starter here. So I think I'll just give what worked for me, because I also didn't have, as much as I was interacting with customers, honestly, this is quite a new field, and none of us actually went to school to learn about user experience researcher. None of us actually knew there's such a field. We just like found ourselves there and we loved it. I think for me, like I said, know your why. You want to get into this field. Why do you want to get into this field? How do you want to get into this field? The how, you need to learn like that. So you can self-train if you have time. I'm not even sure whether it's trained in campus or in colleges, but for me, I self-trained through, there's a course on Google, it's called Google UX. I think Udemy also has some courses that you can learn. Something else, once you learn, you don't just sit with the knowledge. I think the next thing for you is to network, like join local communities like what we have here. You can also have local meetups, probably like your colleagues, just learn from your colleagues. If you're in college, probably learn from your college mates, get a mentor, you know. Once you do that, and one thing I've noticed about, because I've applied for a couple of user experience research jobs, the people employing are not really looking at your academic qualifications. For them, they just want work done. You know, they just want to be sure that you can be given this work and you do. Like in most of these interviews, they even give you a case study. They want to see how you do your research, how you analyze your data, and how you present. So probably to get you, I think what is important, much as you might not have like that experience in maybe a job, you can get experience like you can do real research. Probably you can volunteer. You can have like, if you're working, if you're looking to transition, volunteering maybe for someone in college, just probably volunteer your skills. There are many, I'm sure there are many organizations that can benefit from your work. You can have like a peer buddy, you can sign up for internships. And I think that is quite important. I think a company will want to see that you can actually do the work. So know your why, learn, network, research, start applying. Just have the basic knowledge, especially for how to do your research. I think it's not hard. For me, I think it took me like 6 months to just learn how to do it, and just joining people who can help you, just interact with people in the same field and learn how to do it. So, yeah.
Awesome advice.
Yeah, nice one, Alice. Please go ahead, Mumbe.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely agree with Alice. So just to add on that is, for example, if you want to go into UI UX design, I could urge you to go to probably Behance or Dribble, copy everything that you can copy there and practice with that. That is going to give you just a good concept of how to work around designs, interfaces, icons, and so on. So that's going to be a great place to start with, just being able to build anything that can be used by a customer or a user. For user research, what I can urge you is probably you can start, I can't remember exactly, but I can probably link it on Discord after this. There's a site that gives you challenges for user research. And then at the end of the day, you can post it somewhere where you can get people to criticize your work, just to give you feedback on the same. So if at all you're having a problem trying to figure out what kind of ideas you can work on for user research, that would be a great place to start. You can try, I mean, you can help Gerald build his app and so on. I mean, like there are several places that you can be able to get ideas to just kick off your user research.
Looking forward to the link at Mumbe. I think I'll also benefit from that. On my end, I'd say any transition begins with a mental reset. So if you're used to, for example, I used to, my previous job used to involve a lot of talking, you're always interacting with people. Okay, it's a good strength, but then you also need to learn how to sit down and do a lot of focus work, deep focus work. So there has to be, first and foremost, a mental research, because the psychology of any position or industry is very different. The psychology of the teaching and NGO world is very different from that of tech. So get an understanding of how the tech world works, and also what's required for you to give out good work, like mentally, because with UX UI, there's a lot of long hours that you need to pull if you're to give out quality work, and that will not be possible if you don't train your mind. So I'd honestly emphasize on train your mind. It was a challenge for me. Initially, I used to have I could only do like 2-3 hours, but right now I'm able to pull for longer hours. And that's because I never used to understand what is the challenge. Why can't I just focus on my research and, do it from end to end nicely, like all the other devs? So understand some of your weaknesses that might be a hindrance when you come into this space. Number 2, I'd say make it a continuous learning objective to master principles of design holistically, like, across different spaces, because they apply. I mean, and that's if you are aspiring to not just build products for your organization, but for your career, you're looking to apply these principles in whichever domain that you're going to be placed, or whichever domain that you're going to find yourself. So find books on different principles of design, human behavior, patterns, UI, UX patterns, understand that. Especially, kindly note, I come from a background of teaching. We did not do a lot of presentations. So here you need to Adobe, Balsamic, Figma, Photoshop. Yeah, so understand the principles of design, behaviors of human beings, and now get a tool, be it Adobe XD or Figma or Balsamic, just what's available, what can you easily access, what's available for you, begin there. Learn a tool through which you can be able to express your designs comfortably with. Even if it's PowerPoint, be very good at PowerPoint, if that's the route that you decide to take. And then I think just keep practicing, connect with people, talk with people, have coffee, meet with Anthony, Alice, just get to learn how people have made it in this space, their thinking, how they do their thing. And then over time, you'll gain your footsteps and you'll be good to go. Oh, one last one, Anthony, go to school. And I would honestly advise someone.
What school would you recommend?
Yeah, I'd recommend the Google course in comparison to IDF. I did not just say that. Yeah, I did just say that.
Pitchforks. Why do you say that? Why? What's the background behind the opinion?
From where I'm sitting currently, I think when I started out initially, I was into IDF 140%. But then when I started looking at Google courses, I found them to be more structured and targeted compared to what IDF is offering as of now. Yeah, so there's more value being offered in the Google UX courses compared to, and I'm not being paid.
Awesome. Probably, I think we can go to one of the final questions. Vivian, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah. The last question that we just wanted to ask is, what would you do differently if you were to start this whole UX journey all over again? So just to reiterate, what would you do differently if you had to start all over again? We can start with Alice, our starter.
Well, I think for me, I would join such kind of a, I don't know whether I can hear me.
Okay.
There's someone. So I think for me, I would join some of these communities. I think that is just one thing, like I came to learn the other day. There's a lot of information and a lot of knowledge that you can get from such meetups like this one. And this is my first. And just go out there and look for as much information from people in the similar field. And that's one thing I didn't do. And well, it's never too late. I'm doing it now.
Anne?
Can I say something?
Just a moment. Let's have Anne and Mumbe. Probably you can go next.
On my end, I think my journey was necessary. I think one thing my journey was necessary, so there's nothing really I would have done differently, because there are key learnings I wouldn't have gotten through the process. But I think one thing I'd keep emphasizing on is, one, keep your mind, keep your mental health in check in this career. Two, keep your ego in check as well. And don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to look like a fool. It's part of learning and it's okay.
Mumbe?
Personally, I think I'd keep a cheat sheet. Why? Because you need those templates for research plan, for whatever, where you're going to be getting your resources and so on. And where I usually use Notion for that. As Anne said, I'm not paid. So it would really work for your benefit in the future, because most of the things are more of iterative things. So you're going to repeat the same thing. So you don't want to find yourself in a place where you need to recall where you saw a certain template for a questionnaire, or where you saw a certain article that would be helpful for you. So that's something that I would really redo afresh. The other thing would also be start learning how to be friendly to people. It's a skill that is very necessary in this career. So yeah, it's inevitable at the end of the day. Yeah.
All right. I would like to probably ask Landry, please ask your question, keep it short. And I have one last request of Anne, because she, again, I'm sorry guys that we totally are out of time. So I'll only allow Landry to speak. And then Anne has something to say about something that she's working on, a partnership that she's on. So I'll give you just like 2 minutes to just briefly tell us about it, but Landry, go.
Okay, so thank you. My name is Landry. I have 5 years experience in UI UX. So it's like an advice for me to someone to be a UI UX designer. So first of all, I've been hearing what you're saying, but on my concern, what I can help is like, you have to know first what you want. If you're serious, don't just go with thinking that you might move aside in the end. So just if you want to be a UI UX designer, just try to focus on it alone. And then another thing, once you know what you want to do, you might want to create, like, if someone wants to be a UX designer, there's sometimes they want to design more beautiful things, yet without much experience. And once they see some beautiful designs and others from other people, they get like depressed. So what my thought was, you can just try to go on YouTube, or there's so many links, try to design the same design from the YouTuber who is just giving you advice on a given design. Copy paste the whole process, just the process give you a hint once you're making your own thing. And another thing you can do, you can just brainstorm yourself in your community, and then try to find the pain points for different people, and can have a given idea. Just write down like 5 different solutions from any project you want. Then you can try to design your own on those 5 projects. It's an example. Just try to design your own projects from those 5 projects, so that you may have a whole idea. Just because sometimes the UX designers, they lack their projects to work on. Just try to give yourself more things to do. Try to think about.
I agree. Because I think one of the things that I've realized, probably just to interject, is a lot of people are looking for, asking like, how can I get my first experience? But you can actually create your first experience by looking for problems that are within your community and trying to solve them, and like actually try to solve those problems as part of building your portfolio. Now, we are really out of time, and I'm really keen on us ending on time. So I'd like to ask Anne to, as she gives a parting shot, to speak about the projects that she's working on that I think would be helpful to everyone watching, especially who are trying to break into a UX role.
Right. I will not speak about the projects this time round, but for everyone who's looking to break into the UX role, I would refer them to the ADP List platform. So this is a platform where you get to connect with mentors globally, from Europe, all the different continents in the world. So the one thing I'd request for anyone, if you do not have mentors, I mean, when I began my user research role, our main designer, our main UXer had gotten a new opportunity at Microsoft. So I was the main UXer, and ADP List came in through for me. So I used to reach out to them, get feedback on the various things I was doing. And I'd highly encourage all of us, if you are in such a situation or in such a position, reach out, connect, just sign up, get your sessions on ADP List. You can get feedback from ADP List. I've just shared the link at Alice. Yeah, you can get feedback, reviews. They can help you with anything that you'd want. I'll share more about ADP List the next time we'll be meeting. Ui Ux Nairobi, thank you so much for having me. Back to you, Anthony.
Right, awesome. I'd like to ask for a final parting shot from Mumbe, then Alice, and then we are going to close. I'd like us to close on time because we keep promises, and 7 is the time. So Mumbe, go ahead.
I don't have much to say other than yes, and link for ADP List is amazing. I believe there are also some guys who are here who are part of the mentorship program, which is also amazing. So I'm just grateful, Anthony, for having this platform for us to share. Yeah. Good night, guys.
Awesome. Awesome. Alice?
Yeah, thanks, Anthony, for this session. I think getting to meet other UXers and everyone else in this field. So for me, I'm grateful and of course looking forward to being able to attend our future meetups. Thank you. Awesome. And good night to everybody.
Yeah. So probably the final word of thanks from Vivian, then we'll hand it over to Gitkai to just give the final closing remarks on what's happening next.
Yeah, just want to thank you so much. Thank the panelists for taking time to be here and for sharing such great insights. I've learned so much. I was even struggling to type out when you guys are saying so much of the knowledge. And also like to thank everyone for coming and for participating and for also asking the questions. I hope this session was useful, and also just give us feedback on what you'd find more useful for the next sessions. Yeah, and also thank you to Anthony and Michael for moderating. I'll pass it to Michael.
Okay, cool. Thanks. I just wanted to remind you all that next month, our next meetup will be on 13th of April. So make sure you have time. You'll definitely get links. Yeah, that is all from me. If you haven't added your profile on the Google Sheet, kindly do that so that we can all connect. Thank you for attending. Yeah, that's all from me.
Awesome. Bye, guys.
Bye.